when we say that the DNA changes, people seem to find this a bit strange. Um, how can the way that I look at the world and me engaging with myself have such a profound effect on my DNA and on my surroundings? Now, it's nice as a concept, but is there proof? For me, I maintain the idea that any disease, any ailment, any overcompensation is a need for the body to overcompensate, because for me, when there's layers of fat around your body, that's a layer of protection around you, because there's a fear of me being to the world as I am. I can't be seen this way, right? I'm not happy with the way that I look. So as a byproduct of you stepping into yourself, not being afraid of being judged, what happened?
Yeah, I've lost almost 27 kilos in a year.
Wow, right. And that was not part of what we were here
That,
to do at all.
that's what I say. Like, although it's not goal driven, I never thought it would happen as well, to be honest with you. I have given up. I've lived my life overweight. But yeah, it just happened spontaneously. And so many other things. I finished books that I was working on for years. I wrote an album with personal music. People are inviting me now to write, to be a guest author. I mean, they come from everywhere, these invitations, and I have done nothing, Rishad. I haven't gone out advertising. Here I am.
No. And so the energy, this reverse momentum towards, I got to change that, is what prevents us from achieving those things. And so the more you accept and allow and even embrace and love, it starts disappearing, as it physically did with you in so many ways. And he sent me with a letter, and at that time I knew nothing about Zen whatsoever. And I would still say I don't know much about Zen, so I'm not in any way a Zen practitioner. And we went to visit a Zen temple in Osaka, in Japan. And I just went through the motions of meeting the Japanese people, the culture, the Zen monks, and the Zen teaching, and being in a garden that was designed by Zen masters with this contrasting. And I still have that picture on my wall now. Am I a Zen teacher? Yes and no. Because do I advocate sitting for hours at a time? Yes, you can do that as well. So it's all very incorporated. What we like to do is to categorize and put people into boxes, right? And I realize that all my sufferings and all my problems were precisely because of that reason of putting people into boxes. So what do we? And we've had this discussion as well. What do you call me? What is my method? What do we give it? Or NLP or this or that? I don't have a specific philosophy or belief. You bring that awareness to every single moment of every single day, and you're changing, or you're engaging very differently. And so by unlearning and unconditioning and falling in love with life as it is for you right now, including everything around you, then you become very comfortable in your own skin, because there's a total acceptance of your life. And as a result, you become Zen in that form. You find inner peace, you find inner joy, and that transcends the workplace, it transcends the relationship place, and it transcends your home life. And also, you don't need to go on holiday anymore. You don't need to escape the rat race. You don't need to unplug from work, because that is part of your practice. That's part of your thing. And the most important thing, which I'm sure we'll come to later, but the most important thing that I bring is awareness. Becoming aware of your life, becoming aware of your past patterns, becoming aware of how you attracted certain things in your life and why they are there. Because it's Carl Jung, he said so beautifully, he said, until you don't make the unconscious conscious, you're going to call it fate. Now that's so loaded with so much wisdom in it, because your mirror in your car where you can't see and you're just looking and you're like, no, there's nothing there. And then you install this little thing and you can say this blind spot, right? Most people have a huge blind spot. And our job is to say, let's bring that blind spot. So now every time that happens, you look in your blind spot and you go, that's why. Now you see it. You see it coming before it happens. And you don't call it fate anymore. You don't look in the mirror and go, there's no car here. And you turn and you bump into another car, right? Now you're saying, okay, I can see. I think that's the most fundamental thing you could call it is awareness is like a blind spot mirror where you can identify all those blocks.
So my name is Maria Vraka. I'm a musician. I have a PhD in music education. And Rishad has been my coach for a year now, also my mentor, because I trained as a coach with him. And I have the privilege of interviewing him, finding out. I would like to find out a bit about what you do in your coaching with people. What is your influence on people rather than who you are? And because you had a couple of interviews that were really great, and people can find out from that. But it's finding out what you do. And I would like to start with my own experience this year. Is that okay? Yes? Okay. So it's very difficult to describe what has happened in a year, because the truth is I don't remember who I was a year ago. So that's a strange feeling. But I found this kind of picture somewhere. I heard about it. Like, so when we met, I only saw the cracks, whatever was broken. That's all I focused on. And then he started showing me how the light was coming through the cracks. And then, when you look at the light for some time, everything becomes a blur. So that's what has happened. Like, light has taken over this year for me. But it has been such a difference in the way that I feel and I think and the way I understand life. The only way I can describe it is almost like my DNA has changed, like I have evolved somehow, And I used to be very scared, very sad, tried to hide. That's what I wanted. I wanted to hide away from life. And now I think I'm at the stage where I want to share all the time, because the thing that has changed the most is my idea of purpose in this year. So I realized that all my gifts, my music talent, my ability to write relatively well, my imagination, all of these things have a purpose. They were given to me as a gift to be shared. I mean, Picasso said, like, perfect your art and then give it away. I mean, if it's good enough for Picasso, it's good enough for me, I think. But it's a total transformation in the way I have been seeing life. And there is one word that keeps on coming. You asked me once what somebody that has so many gifts do, and I didn't know how to answer that. It took me 3-4 months to understand, but now this word keeps on coming back: be of service. So that's how I see life now. I see that I'm here to, the best way to live your life is to be of service. And to do that, I'm just sharing my music, my essays, whatever, not because I want to, establish myself as something, as a composer or a writer, but it's this idea that somewhere out there is another soul that can align with you. And, you just put it out there, and in that hope. So that's a complete change of me. And that happened in a year working with you. I don't think I would have ever realized that. So thank you. It's great. That's my personal experience. But then I was thinking, how do you describe to people in general terms what you do? And I think the best way to say is that you give people a life story. Like, you connect the past with their present. People become aware of themselves and then start living consciously. So, because it looks like we're on autopilot. We just react from what you call conditioning. Like, we just have these ideas that we think we have to act a certain way, but we're missing our life that way. So I think you help people become more conscious. And then, although it's not goal-driven, your method, at least it wasn't with me, people, like your clients, end up manifest things for themselves, like what they desire, being more happy, or even things that they didn't expect to happen. So I think that's the way I can describe my journey, and a general experience of how it is to work with you. But it would be nice to ask you some questions about specific things, like somebody that comes across you on LinkedIn and doesn't know who you are, or looking for a coach. What is that you offer? Is that
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Maria. I, uh, I really have had such a privilege finding you or you finding me, and it's been amazing to be part of your life, and so nourishing for me in so many ways. And that's what I love about what I do. It's not a singular. I'm the helper and you're the helpee, and like a doctor-patient or like a teacher-student. There is this growing that happens organically from both sides, because I confirm in you things that I had doubts with, but then you bring out in me things that I didn't even know about myself. So I think it's the most fulfilling and nourishing journey anyone can undertake with anyone, and it's a matter of you just recognizing that everybody has this special ability and gift, and you find it in them because you found it in yourself. And that's why I'm very adamant that a coach or a guide or a mentor or whatever you want to call that person has to have undergone their own journey into arriving at that stage of full acceptance, full understanding, full awareness. Because if we don't have a full awareness of ourselves and we go out there in the world, we project onto others our journeys, our overcomings, and then we become filtered. We don't become raw, and so I think that's the most important part about what I do, is that I keep on digging, evolving, questioning, unlearning, deconditioning, deconstructing, to arrive at this not knowing phase, which now becomes a wonderful conduit of change, because you're not coming in with I know better for you, and this is how you should do it. All I know is the patterns and the forms and the existing things that I've encountered in myself and in others, and I bring that out in you to question, to go deeper, to ask more. And me being a sounding board, I can explore those things with you. Just to ask you a question, to do a comparison. If you could say, in your essential being, what's changed from before you encountered my coaching and after you encountered my coaching?
So there's this thing that I said, I don't remember who I was. It's like a complete change of perspective. My emotions come from a completely different place. Like I used to, strange, because I decided at some point in my life that the negative emotions are forever. And then whenever something happy was coming along, I was very kind of suspicious, to say it's gonna go. And then I realized that life is neutral most of the time. It's just moment after moment. So I think that's what changed the most. I just think from another level. The things that troubled me are not there anymore. They are not the focus anymore. They have settled somewhere. They are there. I carry all the cracks. It's everybody does. But it's like I said, I see the light mostly. I don't know how to describe it better.
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely. I remember in one of our sessions, you said to me, I didn't think it was possible to live differently. I think that was like a huge light bulb moment, because you made me realize as well, is that I convince you that, or make you believe that, hang on, you can look at it differently. Like you have the power to change this. What is your thoughts on that?
You said that the pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Yeah.
This idea of choice,
Yeah.
the idea that life is an experience, can go up like this, but how we react to things, it's it can be a choice. Also, the idea of impermanence, Rishad. I mean, that was a foreign word for me anyway. It was not in my vocabulary, but as a concept as well was something very new. The idea that everything shall pass. Like, I thought that, you say this too shall pass, meaning like, okay, the suffering, one day you will be free. But it's not just the suffering, the happy times will pass as well. And, everything there is, and thank God there is this kind of recycling and renewing all the time. And now I see nature, this connection that you did with nature as well. We see these cycles in nature that helped too. Yeah, but there were different moments that happened. Yeah, at that moment I decided that I didn't want to be sad anymore, because there were a few things that have happened, health problems of my family and all that have made me very anxious and very sad. And somehow I have decided, I have actually said to myself, Maria, your life is going to be a difficult one, in these words. And I lived like that for 5-6 years. So when you said, no, it doesn't have to be like this, it was like, wow.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is that we know it doesn't have to be like this, but to believe that it doesn't have to be like this and that I can change this narrative is something that doesn't happen easily. It's almost programmed deep within us that this is my life, I will be sad, and now I need to deal with it. Like, how do I deal with the pain and the suffering? And I think there was a point where you said, you mean I can change this? Right? It's like I can write another story.
Yes, exactly.
So I think that's to me is a big part of it, is holding your hand, because I've been to the other side. Right? Instead of us talking about how to overcome your suffering, I'm saying let's look at it differently. And the feeling is there in the mind. The mind says, yeah, maybe I can, but the feeling in the body and the programming that's so deeply inside of you requires someone to hold your hand to take you to the other side. Because you can read all these books on self-help and say, yeah, well, I can make different choices, but how does that actually happen? How did it happen for you? How does it happen? If you could describe it on an organic level or on an energy level, can you describe it, or did it just happen? Or
I think it happened organically, like you said, but it happened like in these moments that there was this energy burst, like this wow moment. And then slowly I started adapting to this new energy, this new idea, and everything is filtered through that. That's why I'm saying it's like your DNA is changing, like your perspective of life, of everything. So it's a slow process, but it happens in one moment, and then it takes time to like become you, how to just walk into this. So it's these different moments of energy, of discovery, of release, that then slowly just take over your psyche. I don't know what it is.
wow, that's so profound that you say that, because I heard recently one of the great teachers of recent times, his name was Ramana Maharshi, and he said enlightenment, which is what a term that I'm not too excited about, but he says once you recognize your true nature, it's like a fan that's been spinning all the time, and then when you recognize it, in other words, when you become this new person, the fan's blades still have that after effect. Even the power is turned off, the blades still keep spinning, and eventually, if you just keep on going and you have someone with you, the blades stop spinning. But there is this after effect that was created for so long that eventually it comes to a grind, and then you say, okay, now it's gone in that way.
I think change happens momentarily, though. The real start, the beginning.
You could say that would be awakening. You could say like, it's that moment, it's that aha moment.
Yeah, it is. But then you have to almost wear it, go into this coat and become that.
Right.
That might take time.
And it takes courage, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because if it was just easy, then the coat feels very strange on you. Like I'm wearing a coat now because it's so cold here. So you put it on and you say, but it's summer, I don't feel so comfortable. In other words, I've been a victim all my life. I've been suffering all my life, and life has been a challenge. And this, I'm free to do whatever I want, and I am love, and I am at peace, feels very strange. It feels nice, but it feels uncomfortable. Can you describe, could you relate to that?
Yes, because the truth is, especially with your method, there is no conflict. It's not like I went out there, I had an aha moment, and I went down there and said, okay, that's it, I'm changing this, I'm stopping this job, or I'm not talking to this friend, or there is no conflict. There is nothing that you need to break. I loved that about our coaching, because it's just this kind of let go, let things happen. That's difficult because you always wonder, should I do this or should I do that? It's like almost this knot in the stomach. Like you decide, for example, for me, I think the biggest transformation happened when I started sharing these things that I was writing. This very, basically it was my diary. It was like very private thoughts, and I would send them to you just to make sure that I'm on the right track, that this is because I was going back looking at my life with new eyes almost. And then you will say, oh, can I share? And for a long time, I thought you were challenging me, and I would be angry with you. What does he want? It's like, why does he do that? Because the minute I was saying yes, it was like so painful. It's like as if I was throwing myself off a building. And for the next 3-4 hours, I was waiting for somebody to say, something. What is this? Like emotional stuff. Who do you think you are? I was hoping for that because I wanted people to say stop. But they never did. That was a revelation for me, how kind people are and understanding. I didn't expect that. But then I realized that it wasn't just an exercise. You really believe in this sharing of ideas, in this sharing of, how do you call it, reflections and all that. Because now I'm doing that. And I'm just writing spontaneous pieces of music, and I send them out with mistakes. Even these essays had mistakes because it was just a Polaroid, just a snapshot of the moment. That was the hardest thing for me, because every time I had to break through my barriers, every time I had to trust, and I had to say, okay, whatever. And that's when the idea of impermanence became so strong as well, because the minute you say, okay, is in the past already, you don't need to suffer as much as I did, because my suffering went from 2 days to 1 day to 2 hours to now, okay, I don't care. And that's liberation, but it is painful like that. That's one example of change.
So then was it people out there that you were afraid of them judging you, or was that judgment that you were afraid of already instilled inside of you?
It was all in my head, always.
Right. So so now I can tell you that part of it was not my need to share. My part of it was me getting you out of your conditioned mind, which said people will judge me and people will say this and people will say that. And that's what a coach does, is it slowly put you in a safe zone. And that's why I got you to share on a group of people that were very kind and very loving. And that's, I think, a very important part of what a coach does. It's almost like with a child. You don't just thrust them into the public domain and say, go be vulnerable, because it would be unsafe for you to be able to be thrust into such a thing as you're building up your confidence. And I think that gradual overcoming of those conditioned beliefs is what we see in you. And you mentioned about DNA change, in its proof. Now, when we say that the DNA changes, people seem to find this a bit strange. How can the way that I look at the world and me engaging with myself have such a profound effect on my DNA and on my surroundings? Now, it's nice as a concept, but is there proof? Now, when we went through the journey of you losing weight, right? We didn't talk about that. It was never, I will make you lose fat. I call it lose fat because you don't want to lose weight. Your weight is your weight. And, for me, I maintain the idea that any disease, any ailment, any overcompensation is a need for the body to overcompensate, because for me, when there's layers of fat around your body, that's a layer of protection around you, because there's a fear of me being to the world as I am. I can't be seen this way, right? I'm not happy with the way that I look. So as a byproduct of you stepping into yourself, not being afraid of being judged, what happened?
Yeah, I've lost almost 27 kilos in a year.
Wow, right. And that was not part of what we were here
That,
to do at all.
that's what I say. Like, although it's not goal driven, I never thought it would happen as well, to be honest with you. I have given up. I've lived my life overweight. But yeah, it just happened spontaneously. And so many other things. I finished books that I was working on for years. I wrote an album with personal music. People are inviting me now to write, to be a guest author. I mean, they come from everywhere, these invitations, and I have done nothing, Rishad. I haven't gone out advertising, here I am, but I am here, if you know what I mean. Like, all of a sudden, I have appeared, and that has an impact on so many different levels. But that was never what I was looking for. I mean, when I met you, I couldn't sleep. That's what I was looking for, somebody to help me fall asleep. For 6 months, I was sleeping 3 hours a day. And I have seen a counselor for 10 weeks, and it was going worse and worse. And took you the first meeting, and 2 days later, I just woke up in the middle of the night and said, "You better sleep, Maya. It's about time." And that's it. Like 2 days later, I was sleeping. So you are very effective in that sense. You describe things upside down somehow. You convince people, but it's very nice the way you see the world. Yeah. So many changes that happen without being the focus. The focus was not the change. The focus was just me feeling better, just having a voice. I couldn't even speak. I couldn't have this conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm amazed that we're doing this, and it's so beautiful and so authentic as well. So one of the big things that I want to highlight in you and in everybody is this. This is how I see myself and how I judge myself. And as we remove those layers and fall into acceptance of who we are, instead of saying, "I want the weight to go," we say, "Well, it's okay to be there. It's a great protection for us." Or, "I have to finish this book. Why can't I do that?" You're not meant to finish the book right now. And so the energy, this reverse momentum towards, "I got to change that," is what prevents us from achieving those things. And so the more you accept and allow and even embrace and love, it starts disappearing, as it physically did with you in so many ways. And that applies to relationships as well, with people that are in difficult situations, is that those things or those people start disappearing, or problems, and that comes on so many levels. It's this loving acceptance and embracing that this is part of your journey, and it could not be any other way if you got rid of it. So you embrace your challenges and your difficulties and your judgments and all the rest of it, instead of a process of deduction and elimination. Let's get rid of this and get rid of that and get rid of that. You're just bringing it all together, and you're basically synthesizing or transforming your eyes in your environment, rather than changing your environment to reflect what your conditioned mind was telling you to see. Yeah,
I think so. Yes.
In that way. So you go ahead.
I have some questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
It's funny because you were talking about our perception of ourselves in the world and all that. I went onto your LinkedIn profile, and your company is Zen Coaching. You're known as Zen Coach, and here you are in your photograph with this suit out of the business world, an image completely. And I'm thinking, is that a contradiction, or are you like challenging stereotypes in both worlds? That's what came to me, because I think that's what you do. Like, it's my almost like a prejudice. How does a Zen coach look like? I mean, I am now a Zen coach. I look like this. You can look anyway, but people have some ideas about what Zen philosophy is and what business would be. So the first question is, how do you use this Zen philosophy when it comes to personal, when you coach people for their personal relationship? But is there a space for Zen philosophy in business as well, you think? How do you use that in two different areas?
Yeah. First of all, one thing that always amazed me was your perception and how you would see things that other people would miss. And I think that's also a profound reflection. So there's the image of the successful, the man who's been a successful entrepreneur, businessman, corporate guy wearing the suit, talking about Zen, and most people's brains start wondering it doesn't fit in. And I know it doesn't. And I'm a rebel at heart. And I'm not in any way connected to Zen. However, the journey to me calling it Zen, not many people want to ask this question, so it's a good thing to do, is that years ago I was with a spiritual teacher who I was with for 20 years, and he sent me to Japan with another man who was a doctor, and he sent me with a letter, and at that time I knew nothing about Zen whatsoever, and I would still say I don't know much about Zen, so I'm not in any way a Zen practitioner. And we went to visit a Zen temple in Osaka, in Japan, and I I just went through the motions of meeting the Japanese people, the culture, the Zen monks, and the Zen teaching, and being in a garden that was designed by Zen masters with this contrasting. And I still have that picture on my wall now, with this wonderful. It's a park, and this park was designed with Feng Shui in mind and all the other types of concepts. And here's this, it was light rain, I remember, and I told the doctor, who was a very stubborn friend of mine, but an absolute genius, I said, put your jacket on and use my umbrella, because it was this light rain. And he says, leave me alone, I'm enjoying this, and I was afraid of him getting sick because he's a very dear friend of mine. Anyway, so I just sat there. I kept the umbrella on because I didn't want to get wet, and I tuned in as I saw there was a beautiful lake in the background, and a branch that had fallen down that became a bridge for people to walk on, and everything was green. And then in the middle of it was this red rock, this out of place red rock that was there. And I thought, what's a red rock doing in a green place like this? Somehow I was more attracted to the red rock than the whole scenery, which was this perfect, magnificent thing. And I said, it's amazing that something contrasting can actually brighten up this entire landscape. And it was only a person who looked at life differently that could have seen how this out of place red rock would be nowhere else but there to complete this picture. And that's wabi-sabi, which is a Japanese concept of celebrating the imperfections. So here you have this out of place red rock, and yet it was perfect, and it captured me in such a way. I took a photo of it, and I framed it. Years later, many years later, in my journey, through my own journey with my coach, and then finding my own method, and arriving at the stage of, I would say, just being comfortable in my skin and loving everything that I am and loving everyone around me would be a perfect summary of it back then. I said, well, I should go into coaching, something I never thought I'd ever do, because I come from a business background and still do believe that, there's no way I need to throw that off. I don't need to wear the red robes or the orange robes and, sit in silent meditation in a monastery for hours, even though that's a beautiful way to spend your life. I thought, let me come up with a name. And then there was this sort of weird kind of thing. As I was reading some of the Zen literature, I recognized myself in there, in that. And I decided to call my company that. And it felt very strange. People would say, what's this guy got to do with Zen? And still today, I'd say, what have I got to do with Zen? But then later on, years later, I figured out it is the exact name, because the ultimate definition or understanding of Zen is, I don't know. I do not know anything. I am entirely devoid of past conditioning, past perceptions, and I'm totally engaged in the present moment, is my understanding of Zen. Zen is as much as it is a philosophy to get out not to get back in and recondition yourself with a new method and process. So I stuck with the name, felt very uncomfortable having the name, but I said, I'm going to keep it. And I get a phone call from a man in. The funny thing was that when my spiritual master sent me to meet the Zen master in Osaka, he wrote a note on a piece of paper, and he said, "Get this translated and give it to the monk." And it said, "I send greetings from across the ocean." That was all that was said. And we went to a Japanese translator, and he said, "Oh, this has got deep significance to it." I said, "Well, I don't understand what the deep significance." This was years later. I get a phone call years later as I call my company Zen Coach, and the guy calls me up and says, "Are you Rishad from Zen Coach?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "So which sect do you follow? Is it the Rinzai or the Soto sect?" And I said, "No, you got me wrong. I'm not into that." And he said, "Oh, I thought you were, part of this because I come from this." And I said, "Look, I call the company Zen Coach, nothing to do with Zen in any way." So then he said, "There's a great Zen master from Ireland, and he actually wants to visit Cape Town, and he's been his dream to visit Cape Town by yacht. So he wants to come across the ocean to Cape Town to stay there. Would you mind hosting him?" And all of a sudden, everything just clicked into place. Here's the greetings from across the ocean. Here's the Zen master coming here. It's just, it all just came together, and I stuck with the name. So that's where the name originated. Now, am I a Zen teacher? Yes and no. Because do I advocate sitting for hours at a time? Yes, you can do that as well. So it's all very incorporated. What we like to do is to categorize and put people into boxes, right? And I realize that all my sufferings and all my problems were precisely because of that reason of putting people into boxes. So the business world, the corporate world, the family world, the children world, the life world, all of these dimensions of our being all can be connected to Zen, to life. But is my teaching Zen? No, that would be a fatal mistake to recognize the name. Now, is it people's fault? No, because people see the name Zen and I don't need a Zen coach. I'm not interested in meditation or wearing a monk robe, going to Japan and eating vegetables, for instance. Whatever people's perception is, or I'm not Japanese or Chinese or anything like that. So that's those people's problem in a way. I mean, what am I going to call me? Because now we can even discuss what more I bring to the table, and then you'd say, what do we? And we've had this discussion as well. What do you call me? What is my method? What do we give it? Or NLP or this or that? I don't have a specific philosophy or belief.
I think Zen means not labeling. So you are right, you are there. But I think you also are using Zen philosophy in your.
Yes, but not exclusively.
Not exclusively, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So if we could say the ultimate expression of Zen, it would be no mind. If you look at D.T. Suzuki, who was an incredible man, Alan Watts, everybody knows Alan Watts. He learned from D.T. Suzuki, and so did Eric Fromm and all the other people as well. D.T. Suzuki brought Zen to Japan, and in its essence, Zen is the letting go of the conceptual mind and of all the past suffering. In a way, it's to reach a state of no mind, which means that you're going to discover things afresh as a child does in the present moment, without all the preconceptions and all the baggage. However, it's not A to Z Zen in that way. Look, the word Zen has been used for everything. Peace, the Zen of motorcycle. So it's all over the place. So yes, I do incorporate Zen, and I absolutely love it, and I adore it in so many ways. But I'm not a Zen master, because a Zen master would also deny that he is a Zen master in that particular way. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, because there's no answer to that question. Zen is supposed to be this fluid thing, and you do that. You do believe in people unlearning or not labeling, or so it is there. It's just, I was thinking, do you think we're the same people when we are in business and when we go home? Like, is there, maybe Zen can be this line that connects us, because we go to the workplace and we tolerate much more than when we go home and we just all of a sudden get angry with whatever. So I think it's also this idea of peace, of balance inside, that can connect a person from the professional life to personal life, to all of that. And all the teachings that you are using, I don't know Zen either. I just found out with you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually really beautiful. There was a book that I've been writing now for quite a while, but the whole thing was exactly that. It was called Zen in the City, and I still, as a concept, the Zen in the city means that there is no need to withdraw and go to a place of, this is my sanctuary and these are my my candles, and you do your whole meditation and all the rest of it is that. And that's when I found out that the initial Zen practice was walking practice, was engaging in life. So in other words, you bring that awareness to every single moment of every single day, and you're changing, or you're engaging very differently. And so by unlearning and unconditioning and falling in love with life as it is for you right now, including everything around you, then you become very comfortable in your own skin, because there's a total acceptance of your life. And as a result, you become Zen in that form. You find inner peace, you find inner joy, and that transcends the workplace, it transcends the relationship place, and it transcends your home life. And also, you don't need to go on holiday anymore. You don't need to escape the rat race. You don't need to unplug from work, because that is part of your practice. That's part of your thing. And the most important thing, which I'm sure we'll come to later, but the most important thing that I bring is awareness. Becoming aware of your life, becoming aware of your past patterns, becoming aware of how you attracted certain things in your life and why they are there. Because it's Carl Jung, he said so beautifully, he said, until you don't make the unconscious conscious, you're going to call it fate. Now that's so loaded with so much wisdom in it, because otherwise you're going to say, well, my life sucks, this is how it's been, I just need to deal with it, my partner's terrible, I just have to deal with it, or I've got this. But it's all this conditioning, and that we call that unconscious. Unconscious meaning that it's just there and I haven't recognized it. It's not some type of mystical term or dream state, but how did I come to believe and see the world as this is? And when you bring awareness, it's like you're plugging in an upgraded version of a chip in your mind that's in there, looking at your mind, looking at your body, and looking at your circumstances. And that chip, once it's implanted in you, becomes your awareness, which now looks at things. Now, awareness has been used in so many different ways, in different forms, but simply becoming knowing and becoming very conscious of what's going on in your mind, in your life, around you, rather than ignoring them, because it's not in your awareness. And that's what we do as coaches, right? Is to say, how did it get like this? How did you do this? And how did you? And your mind has a huge blind sight mirror. You know your mirror in your car where you can't see and you're just looking and you're like, no, there's nothing there. And then you install this little thing and you can say this blind spot, right? Most people have a huge blind spot. And our job is to say, let's bring that blind spot. So now every time that happens, you look in your blind spot mirror and go, that's why. Now you see it. You see it coming before it happens. And you don't call it fate anymore. You don't look in the mirror and go, there's no car here. And you turn and you bump into another car, right? Now you're saying, okay, I can see. I think that's the most fundamental thing you could call it, is awareness is like a blind spot mirror where you can identify all those blocks.
I like that. It's really nice. So you were talking about people's blind spot, conditioning. My question is, what is the most common problem that people come to you with? Is there like a common thread of what are we suffering from, these modern humans? I don't know. And is it the same for men and women, or is it different problems?
So everybody comes to me with different situations, different problems. They've got a problem with their wife, their spouse, job, money, health, difficulty in sleeping, eating, awareness, stillness. It takes on all different forms. Most of it involves suffering. You could say the common theme would be suffering of whatever that condition is, external environment is. And again, once you narrow it down to awareness, and I bring to them the blind spot, then we can start looking at. So the outside symptom, it's like it's like a doctor who says I can treat any condition, right? Pretty much. I've dealt with stuff that people say, well, you can't be working with people like that. They need X, Y, and Z, for instance, right? Like severe anxiety disorders, or dyslexia, or autism, or things like that. It's just the way I see the energetic of these things. I don't look at it as the form that has been eventually displayed. For instance, being overweight, right? So you see somebody who's overweight, not happy with the way they are. I look at it from the emotional standpoint, and then track it that way, so I can deal with pretty much anything. There's some things that I choose not to deal with, and certain people that I choose not to deal with because I don't feel comfortable with that. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, yes, but it's like it leads to the next question, because we have these identity questions all the time. I think our generation has it more than ever, especially when it comes to work. There is no work for life anymore. Like our parents' generation would go into a company, and they will go 1, 2, 3 steps up to management, and they will spend their lives there. Now we have what we call a career portfolio. We just change not just companies, we change jobs as well. So this ladder is not just a ladder anymore. It's like different wall that you have to go to. And I was wondering, how do we know that we have arrived, that what we have done is enough, that we don't have to over try, or look for the next bigger thing? For how do we stop? Like, how do we know that this is it, this is the moment for us?
It's something you'd be able to answer better than me in that particular way. Like, how much is enough? Where is enough? It's just more of seeing the person where they are in whatever form that may be. So someone who's just starting out at school and want to go to university, for instance, of course they have to progress. And then most of my clients who've arrived at some particular point, right now, they can keep on progressing up the ladder, sideways, to the left or to the right, or recognize where they are right now. Most people don't know where they are right now in the game of the ladder, because these are all constructed by conditioning, right? By societies, by curriculums, by, okay, so you're CEO now, but next thing you need to become a shareholder, or you're a CFO now and you should progress to CEO, or you're a technical expert, now you must become that. And most of the time when people make this dramatic shift according to someone else's ladder requirements, they become an entirely different person. Because you see that someone who's a senior manager or a senior engineer now stepping into a management role, they can't fulfill that role because it's not part of what they are and who they are. So for their need to follow this thing, they end up in unhappy situations. Like sometimes you're working for a boss and I have to go start my own business. Why do you have to? So it's just explaining to them where they are and giving them clarity. Now, if after that clarity they say you agree with them or you see what they're talking about, then you work towards that. Now, if you're going with the momentum of I must get there in order for me to become this, that's where you fail. Because
Right.
what is this that you want to become? Most people don't know what that is. They assume that, yeah, I want to become rich and famous. Why? What is it? What will that give you that you don't have right now? If you become CEO and you take the other guy out, what does that make you? Are you the bigger boss? Are you the will you how will you feel? What would change about your essence and who you truly are in yourself at that point?
Yeah, I think I think that's the key, knowing who you are at that moment. And then you
Right.
can make a decision how far to go. But these are questions that people come with. I have these questions.
All the
But
time, all the time, all the time, because people don't know where they are and who they are in this whole thing, because it's all being constructed from your past conditioning, right? So it's like I am this, I am that. You see, and it's not their fault, because this is society's a program. You go to grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, then you become degree, and then you have your masters and your PhD. You know you're this, then you're C level, and then you're, and it's just all these structures and procedures, and we just tap into that knowing of the world, but that doesn't align with who we are and what we are and what we seek.
I think that's very wise. I don't think people realize that. So the next question is about leadership, because you coach people that are leaders, and what do you think the best qualities are for a leader? And do you think everyone can be a leader, or is it like a character trait, like we either have it or we don't? So it comes under the questions about expectations and self-awareness.
Yeah, I think that's really a question I've been pondering for a while, because if you look online and you look at books and all the rest of it, they've made this categorization between the boss and the leader, and the boss is the bad guy and the leader is the good guy. So everybody no longer wants to. You see all these posts and they're saying what a boss is: pushy, arrogant, idiot. What a leader is: aware, and of course there's been a huge shift in these. You could call it the high priests of the new age of what it means to be a leader, and we're confusing the crap out of everyone. It's the same as all these new terms that we've created, because you can't put someone who's emotionally available, soft and squishy, and just give everybody what they want and return profits to the company and maintain structure and order, discipline, all the rest of it. So that's the whole big misunderstanding about what the modern day leader is. And so I don't want to fall into the same trap and say what a leader is, right, in that particular way. But can anybody be a leader? Yes, anybody can be a leader. It depends how you define the word, and people already assume certain things. So in your home, if you've got a child, then you're the leader of the child. The most important leadership you'd ever undertake is leading yourself out of the darkness into the light, and that is the personal overcoming of the conditioning. Now, if you take that journey that we talk about on a personal level of uncovering, unpacking, and then rediscovering, and then saying, okay, this is where we are, this is where I am, to the corporate world or to the business world, now you become this very different human being. And that's been my whole push in the corporate world and in the leadership world, is that seeing how you got here, how your team got here, how you attracted certain kind of conditions in your business. It's the same model. So for you to be able to change that, you have to change the way that you see your situation, your business, the people around you. It's all people. It's all about people. And so your communication and all the rest of it. So instead of you solving the problem from the same awareness that created it, as Einstein has been attributed with saying, is that you look at it in an entirely different way, looking at how you, by being here, and the company and the organizational ethos has shaped where you are right now. And most leaders and most managers and most people in charge of these decisions not interested in this. This is what it is. There's a very few that want to change this. Everybody else just wants to follow the status quo and say to me, okay, can you just help me achieve my goals? That's all I want to do. Just want to get from A to B. That's all I want, right? So in other words, I want to lose 10 pounds. That's your job. Don't come and tell me about all this thing. And I'm saying, sorry, no. The reason why you've got this is because of all of that. So don't come and tell me you don't want to change any of it. So I choose who I work with very carefully. So I don't have book a free call and let's see if I can help you. Because I know some people come with a preconceived idea of what a coach is, a business coach, or executive coach, or a life coach, right? And they expect you, oh, but you're a life coach, you can't help me with my business, right? Or you're a business coach, you can't help me with my life. Or I need to see a therapist about this, I don't need to see you, or in a particular way. So it's a very, very important question, is that the whole thing is recognizing you in the environment and the environment in you. You don't take one out of the context and the other. So we're just looking at, okay, how do I improve staff efficiency by 10%? It's a ridiculous question, right? And then people go and spend. I've seen this ridiculous thing where these very high-end executives will go spend $250,000 on a boot camp where people will make puzzles and blow up balloons, right? And you're like saying, no, it's a genuine thing. They'll fly people all the way to Nepal for them to go 10 minutes walking and then lie back and fall upon each other and use up the company budget and say, we've done our thing. They don't want to change. It's been working all along to treat people like donkeys, right? You just tell the donkey how to go from A to B. And so you find most of these coaches that come about and they're like, okay, so you got these, and then what they've done is excuse me, because I'm very passionate about this, they've taken the entire industrial revolution and the mechanization of people into coaching. So now you get people with forms and structures and policies and procedures, right? And then satisfying the status quo. And then you have organizations that represent you following X, Y, and Z, right? Just to conform with the existing status quo because it's been working all along. But here's the thing, it's not working. Companies are collapsing, corporates are collapsing. The human being that came into this institution is not the same guy who came into Unilever 200 years ago desperately in need for a job. It's a new, evolved human being who wants more. They want job satisfaction. They want to feel alive. They want to feel connected. They want the same things that they have been told on YouTube and all the rest of it. You can live your joy. You can live at peace. You don't need to be a slave anymore. And so your people have become your best asset. And most people are focusing on just implementing procedures and structures to keep the same monolith going on. And you see it with companies like Google and others who are doing as much as they can. They still want to keep the main structures going. So I'm looking for people that actually want to make big change. And I implemented that with one of the companies that I'm managing right now, where I'm making every one of the employees into a shareholder. You will get profits from the company no matter what, right? So, of course, as long as you're at the company and you're delivering, we're not going to basically say, you get this much and you get that much. Everyone becomes a shareholder. What does that mean? Everyone's a stakeholder and everybody's vested in the interest, and they know they're not just going to get, if I put in 10%, I'm going to get 10% back. And that's why you get these slackers, right? You don't need to slack because the more you put in, everybody changes. So you can't be pretending to say we want emotional, we want to give everybody the equal opportunity and make them feel amazing. And then you give them a little salary, and after taxes, they can barely pay their bills and their credit card. Right? It's not fair to come up with that type of model. And there's more than enough money to go around in the world for you to make. But if you come with that mentality of how much can I suck out of this person, that's what you're going to get. Till very recently, every single employee was a cost item. So you need to see how much you can get out of this cost item. So if I'm paying you $10,000, I need to get $20,000 out of you. Otherwise, you're useless to me. That's the old thinking. And it's still around. Excuse me, long answer, but yeah.
I don't know much about corporate world, but yes, it's interesting to see your view on leadership and how a healthy business relationship is. Okay, so I think we're done with the questions about work. There is something that you mentioned about self-improvement and the self-help books. There are thousands of them published hundreds, I don't know, every year. And I'm just thinking, if that's the fact, it means they don't work, because if they work, we wouldn't have so many. But my question now is, do we need self-improvement? Is that the right word to use? Are we in need of self-help?
I think that we are in need of looking at things differently, and the self. Well, the self doesn't truly exist in a way. We don't want to get into the spiritual realm here, but or you could call it the spiritual realm, another loaded word, because they expect a guru of whatever talking about spirit in that particular way. We do need help in reconditioning, into unlearning, into changing existing patterns. Books have a very limited scope, so do courses and YouTube channels. In fact, they provide more information. but no active change. And so there is a role for them, no doubt. Do they work? Majority of the time they don't, and that's why, like you said, you have 100,000 titles every year, which means that it's not really, it's so subjective. Like, what do I need help with? And the problem is, what most people do is they self-diagnose. So they go onto YouTube and they see, I'm in a narcissistic relationship. So they go out and buy a book, How to Overcome Narcissistic Relationship, and do this and do that. And they go into another relationship and they're like, well, that didn't work because I followed the book to the T, but I attracted another narcissist. And so when I deal with that, I say, well, have you looked at how you're the narcissist? How that you somehow are attracting this? What are you bringing into the relationship that is also? Now, you can't get that from a book, because again, the blind spot that you bring into reading the book is not seeing you as the problem. The you in the plural sense, there's the you that is beyond you. It's your conditioning, it's your environment, it's your parents, it's your all of that. You don't see any of that. You're just seeing narcissist, let's go get rid of it. Or in leadership, they do the same thing. Oh, well, with health, right? You got a problem with your foot, take antibiotics. But you're not getting to the reason why your foot is hurting in the first place. It's it's all about this bigger picture, and people get lost in the smaller picture. So, yeah, do we need help? Yes. Does the self need help? I would say yes, just to answer that in the simplest of ways.
Okay. So you say you're in the business of transformation. Can you explain this? What do you mean? What is transformation for you?
Transformation is seeing how your life, and everything that you have been led to believe about your life is somehow lacking. There's something that needs to change inside of you. And again, that term, like every other term, has been violated in many ways. And even the word coach is a ridiculous thing. So transformation would mean simply taking one thing and turning it into another. So you could call it, I should call myself the alchemist maybe, because that's what you're doing. You're taking something. However, you're not making it into gold. So it wouldn't be an alchemist. You're just seeing it for what it is, right? Instead of what you think it is. So transformation, you could say, is taking a particular person or thing in where they are and then changing it to the way they would like it to be. The problem with most people is this is how they think they want it to be. In other words, I want this mercury to turn into gold, but why gold? Why not silver or copper? Right? So then do you need to go according to what? And that's your conditioning, right? So your transformation is breaking down, removing, unlearning, unconditioning, re-examining until you arrive at this raw base. And most people can't get to this raw base, especially not through a book with all their blind spots. So it's about this integration of the shadow, if you want to use a Jungian terminology, right? But it's not specifically the shadow, because the shadow implies this dark side of you that remains hidden. Actually, it's all those things that you don't see in your life because you're not conscious to them, because part of your brain's deception is that it blocks all of that out. So you don't see how you're the problem in the relationship. You don't see how you can't attract money because you come with a certain thing towards money, or with health, or all the rest of it.
Right. That's good, because it leads to the next question about your philosophy. You seem to be very well read. You have a way of you seem to be, you are, but you have a way of connecting spirituality and science and Western philosophies with Eastern philosophies. I find that really interesting. And how do you think that helps an individual that comes to talk to you? Like, if you can, for example, your ideas about the state of reality, how do you think somebody that awakens to that can see themselves in a different way? I don't know if that's clear, but I mean,
yeah, it's a good question, and a difficult one to answer. So I'll answer it as time permits. But I will just tell you what the common thread is. So here is me looking for my life, my joy, my happiness, my fulfillment, my connection with my family, with my soul, with my job, with my life, with my death, all these types of things. And then me going through and plowing through millions of pages and hours of content with this common, what is it that I can take out of it? What is it that I can learn out of it? And I am an explorer and I am a scientist at heart. So I will never let that go out of me. So I will look at through all these different things from across the board. And that's why it's so difficult to explain to people that I'm not what you think I am. And life is not what you think it is again. So again, I'm challenging you to apply the unconditioned mind and the unconditioned way of looking at me and at life, especially when you're looking at me and saying, okay, well, I don't know what this is. Let's go and explore further. So there's so much in spirituality, there's so much in religion, there's so much in science, there's so much in Western philosophy, there's so much in Eastern philosophy, there's so much in psychology, there's so much in medicine. Now, what you take out of it is what's important, because it's shaping, you want it to shape your journey. So if it's not beneficial to me, I don't want it. So if I have to do things this way because of X, Y, and Z, not interested. So I don't want to become a quantum physicist, because then you're limited to that, although I have an enormous love and respect for it. Spirituality, I don't want to become the spirit guide or the guru, even though I've been called that, right? I don't want to become the scientist or this guy who deconstructs. I have this ability to deconstruct volumes of understandings and philosophies, including the Greek philosophies, which I love very much, and you're Greek, so you can relate to that. There's a lot to take from that, and nobody's right and nobody's wrong. And so if you talk about reality and you ask, ultimately my arrival of is the same as all the enlightened people. But see, the word enlightenment, it actually implies lightening of the load. So the heavier the load of your past conditioning and all your past programming is what's preventing you from seeing the light. So when you start getting rid of all these layers and baggages and unlearning them, you're starting to lighten the load. And when you're empty, the light is there manifest for you. You couldn't see the light because of the amount of baggage that you were carrying. You could say that. So when you become enlightened, which is a very rudimentary term that has so many different significances behind it, I recognize that everything is an illusion. Everything is our senses providing stimulus in a predetermined way that is conditioned and that is programmed, and it is giving us feedback from how we want to see it. If you remove your nervous system and your brain out of the body, what are you? You're just a lump of flesh, right? But with the nervous system, with the inputs and outputs, with the sensory inputs and outputs, and with the brain conditioning and programming and telling you this is what you see, even though we've seen so many experiments how what you thought you were seeing is not, because your brain tricks you in that particular way, then you realize that all of it is what they call Maya, right? And so in the Sufi scriptures, they say that everywhere you turn, you see the face of God. Everything's the face of God. So in essence, nothing exists. Now, here's the thing. To me, that's not arrival. To me, that's recognizing one thing, or the overarching thing. The second part is saying, well, here I am, Rishad, in this body, in this mind, goes to sleep at night, wakes up feeling like he wants to kill everybody, hates his job, hates his life, hates his children or whatever, and loves this and loves that and wants to achieve that. These are my passions, my desires, and my spacesuit. So the spacesuit is, you could say, the nervous system and the brain has created me like this. So when I see the flower, that's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing energetic particles, vibrating at a very high frequency, because that's what's actually happening, right? I see this. So I say this is the game, the Maya, right? The illusion. Now, since it is an illusion, and we've been created in an illusion, why not play this game to win? So you see the overarching theme, you recognize that it's all energies and all the rest of it, but here's your life. That's your husband, that's your child. Now, how do you play the game? Now, in the rules of the game, that's where you see, I jump off from half of the spiritual teachers and the Zen masters and all the rest of it. I'm saying, well, this is the game, and this is who you are. Now, you can go suffer it and go, this is not real, this is not real, this is not real, it's all an illusion, it's all God and all the rest of it. Doesn't help me because God put me in the jumpsuit for whatever reason, or the spacesuit. So, how to navigate this world and this life from the level of the game? You're in the game, but you don't have to keep on just discarding the game and saying this and that. How do you now? This is the next question. How do I want to play this game? Because it is a game. You have to recognize it's a game. So your suffering is not your suffering, or whatever. I'm in the game. Now, I'm here. I've got my spacesuit on, and I want to eat as much blueberries as possible, and I want to kill as many bad guys as possible. Now you say, what am I going to do? Focus on killing the bad guys? Or am I going to focus on eating more blueberries? Right? That's your choice. People could say, no, but that's against morality and all the rest of it. Fine. Right? If that's what you think will happen, I say no. I say I'm going to live my life like this whole game has been rigged in my favor, and that's where I get so much wisdom from Rumi from as well. And I want to play this game to win. So here's what gives me joy, what gets me excited, what gives me inner peace, what gets me stable. Now, before it's attributed to all the self-help gurus and you can be happy, you're getting it wrong. You see, they're getting it wrong. It's not about me and my happiness, me and my joy, me and me. Leave me alone. I need to be in my space because, this is my bubble and all the rest of it. No, it's your engagement in the world. Now, from direct experience, and that's the path of Zen as well that you mentioned early on, from direct experience, do you enjoy life more when you're sitting in your bubble with your headphones on watching a YouTube video, or sitting at a family dinner where you're accepting and engaging with friends, family, with your colleagues? You're in the world of service, because if you look deeply enough, you realize that what nourishes you is your giving, not your taking. So you become in this world for giving back, because that's what makes you feel human, and it's from direct experience. So if you logically analyze it, oh well, you'll be a horrible person, all you'll do is be selfish by yourself, that's fine. But from my direct inquiry and my direct experience, when I enrich others, it makes me feel good. So I say being a coach is the most selfish thing you can do, because as I give, and you giving to people is the most nourishing thing. Now, is that somebody else's religious concept or moral concept? You must do good and be right. That's why God is saying that, right? It's not because he wants to burn you in fire and put you in heaven. He's saying, serve people, be kind, be nice, be compassionate, go and do justice in the world, restore good. There's nothing wrong with all of that. But we're in this world, and part of this jumpsuit is we're engaged with people, with plants, with nature. So I say, if you can't see God's magnificence and the universe's magnificence in the jumpsuit, you're never going to see it. You can't, because this is the spacesuit, the jumpsuit, your wife, your husband, your child, your sore leg. Everything is reflecting the essence of the divine in all of it.
Right. You just answered the last question that I had.
Oh.
It's what you said, like life is a game and you have to play to win it for yourself and everybody else, you say. I got that from an interview. So you just answered that.
Yeah, so just to say that you win this game of life for yourself through others, right? So you first recognize, what do I want? What excites me? What emotions do I want to live by? And how do I not become so entangled on, I want happiness, I want joy, I want money, I want health, I want to live forever, right? Because and that's where I disagree with the Taoist. I bring a lot of Taoist philosophy as well into me, Tao or Tao, Tao as they say it, Lao Tzu and all the rest of them, about living forever, right? And I don't want to live forever. You know why? Because it'll be boring, right? So what I want to do, I want to live. What do I want is the question to ask from a pure place. Because if you're not from the unconditioned mind and I ask you what you want, you'll say, lots of money. I want to marry the most beautiful woman. I want the biggest car. I want even inner peace. It's a lie. I want happiness. It's a lie. It's not what you truly want. What you want, what I believe what people truly want is to be at home in themselves, in their lives. They want to be totally at home. And what is it when you feel at home from the old understanding of home? Is where mother is where comfort is where the smell that you get of cooking of the food of your mom. It's where love is, where your dad is, where it's the ideal goal. That's home. And now these days we don't have that, but we all want to go back home. So I'm saying return home in your environment, in your life, without needing to go back to the illusionary home, whatever that construction in your mind is. It's the feelings that we want. We want to feel alive. We want to feel engaged. We want to feel contributing. We want to feel so much part of life. And also we want to let go of all the fear and to start living a life of our means, of our capabilities, as long as it doesn't exclude others. There is no, it's not one or the other. Your happiness is with others and through others. It's not exclusive. And that's where I think a huge part of the new age, whatever that may mean, is that it's me and my happiness. And it's not. Life is not about you and your happiness.
Thank you, Rishad. That was it. Rishad Ahmed in 13 questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. That was, I think it turned out to be the best interview I've had, actually.
No worries.